and locations were known. That's not exactly true for all of this, right? Because we know where it started or where I caught it, but we don't know where it ended, right? So I just picked the middle of the kernel density estimate, weighted by the kernel density estimate, if that makes any sense. Okay, so those are some key assumptions. And from those data, those points, these are the migration routes, the spring migration routes for all 44 of those geolocator birds, with the exception of one, because it had died during the winter. The geolocator died. So birds from Hubbard Brook here, a lot of them are migrating across the eastern seaboard here into the Hispaniola area. Some are going what looks like across Bahamas. Some of these birds from Prince Albert Forest National Park in Saskatchewan, they are going over the Caribbean, and some are going around, which is quite interesting. What is interesting to note here is that there is essentially zero overlap between these two populations, east and west. And we can talk about why I think that might be later. Here's the Puerto Rico birds moving north. Some stop here in the mid-Atlantic. Interestingly, one bird from Florida, the next day, his point was in the estimate for the breeding location. So that's why that's a straight line over the eastern seaboard there. And these are birds here from Jamaica going across through Cuba, through Florida, and then up. So just to remind you about migratory connectivity, how it ranges from weak, potentially, where there is no real pattern, to strong. I want to put this map back up from the east and west here with this strong connectivity here. And if I make this schematic look kind of similar, we find strong connectivity at large spatial scales, right? So we have no overlap between eastern birds and western birds, at least on this big, broad spatial scale. And these dotted lines here are those 3 band recaptures. However, within subpopulations, we see a bit of a weaker pattern, right? So especially birds here in Canada, which showed the weakest connectivity. There were some birds, 2 birds went here in northern Central America, a couple birds in Central America, and a couple birds went further south in Central America, with essentially no overlap in some of those individuals. Hubbard Brook in New Hampshire showed a high degree of likely coming from Hispaniola. Most of the individuals went there, but some also went